Teacher Talking Sports, what it does, what it do, how we live. And let's continue the series I've been doing where I name who I believe is the best player in each NHL franchise's history. Their all-time GOAT. Previously did this for NFL and NBA teams that are in playlists. You can check them out. Been going in alphabetical order. Today we land on the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have quite the lengthy history. 2 seasons as the Toronto Arenas. Then 7 seasons as the Toronto St. Patrick's. Since the 1926-27 season, have been known as the Toronto Maple Leafs. 106 seasons in all, nearly 100 with the Maple Leafs. They won Stanley Cups in 1932, 1942, 1945, 1947, 1948, 1949, 1951, 1962, 1963, 1964, 1966, but haven't since. So nearly 6 decades. But before I name the GOAT of the franchise, I've been revisiting the NHL Mount Rushmores I did 2 years ago, where I named who I believe are the 4 best players in each franchise's history. I know Toronto's in Canada, so if you want to consider it, just the 4 best players, be my guest. But anyhow, I decided to keep it the same, leaving out a notable active player. More on him at the end of the video. But anyhow, in alphabetical order by last name, I included Syl Apps, played way back in the 30s and 40s. 5-time first or second team All-Star, 3 Stanley Cup wins. Turk Broda, the Hall of Fame goalie, part of the NHL's 100th anniversary team, won 5 Stanley Cups. Dave Keon, Hall of Famer, 100th anniversary team, 4 Stanley Cups, 365 goals with the Maple Leafs. And Borja Salmon, in the Hall of Fame, 100th anniversary team, made 6 straight first or second team All-Star teams from 74-75 to 79-80 with the Maple Leafs, of course, with their long history. So many Hall of Fame level players. Just a few honorable mentions include George Armstrong, Matt Sundin, Frank Mahovlich, Ted Kennedy, Darryl Sittler, Johnny Bower, Tim Horton, Doug Gilmour, Charlie Conacher, and I'll name active players at the end. But in the end, and this was such a hard team to do because, as I mentioned, such a long history, so many Hall of Fame players, 2 teams really in a row. Tampa Bay was really hard too. But anyhow, I am going to go with goalie Turk Broda. Broda made his NHL debut in the 36-37 season, played 1 game for the Maple Leafs in 1952. 14 seasons, won 2 Vezinas, although I believe then Vezinas were given out to the goalie who had the lowest goals against average. But nonetheless, if Vezinas were given the best goalie, I'm sure he would have gotten some. 2 first-team All-Star teams. 1 second All-Star team. He had Hart Trophy finishes of 4th and 9th in his career, as I mentioned. Won 5 Stanley Cups. Let's take a look at his season-by-season numbers via his hockey reference page. So, Broda played 629 games, finished his career with 304 wins, a 2.53 goals against average, and 61 shutouts. Broda twice led the NHL in wins. Now, the NHL wasn't 82 games back when he played. For a while, it was 48, 50, some 60. At the end, 68. But he was a guy who played almost every game. You see, 8 of his seasons, he has bold ink in his games played. Really didn't miss games at all. And think about today. I mean, last season, Jusaros led the league with 64 games, meaning he didn't start 18 games. Broda really wasn't missing a start at all. Led the league in goals against average, as I mentioned, twice. Minutes played 5 times, never came off the ice. Led the league in shutouts twice. He had a total of 8 different seasons where he had at least 5 shutouts, not counting his last season where he played just 1 game. 11 of his 13 seasons, he had under a 3 goals against average. Now, this was before save percentage was a thing, so we do not have that. What made me choose Broda over a bunch of other candidates was how good he was in the postseason. In 101 career postseason games, he went 60 and 39 with a 1.97 goals against average and 13 shutouts. I mean, the 5 years they won the Stanley Cup, 1942, that postseason, 8 and 5, 2.38 goals against average. 1947, 8 and 3 record, 2.38 goals against average. 1948 postseason where they won the cup, 8 and 1, 2.05 goals against average. 1949 Stanley Cup win, 8 and 1 in the playoffs, 1.57 goals against average. And his last Stanley Cup, 1951, 5 and 1, 1.10 goals against average. Again, under a 2 goals against average in his postseason career. All-time, he's 46th in games played as a goalie, 36th all-time in wins, and 18th in shutouts. And again, seasons were nowhere near as long as they are today. So you figure he would be much higher up those rankings if he was playing during 82-game seasons or something close to that. So again, this was probably the hardest one for me to do. And I went Turk Broda. Let me know in the comments if you agree. Who is your Maple Leafs GOAT? Do you agree with the Mount Rushmore or 4 best players of all time in Toronto history? Just so hard to do this one. Really, I can't even name how many candidates could have been the GOAT, including one active player. So for all of these, I take a look at the active roster, decide if anyone has a chance to overtake the GOAT, make the Mount Rushmore be an honorable mention. Of course, the first name that's going to pop in your head is Auston Matthews, who just scored 69 goals this past season. Was his second season of 60 goals, 281 goals over his first 8 seasons, has won a Hart Trophy in the past. We also have William Nylander. Nylander, I believe, has back-to-back 40-goal seasons. Yes, back-to-back 40-goal seasons for the Maple Leafs. Mitch Marner has, let's see, he has 639 points over his first 8 seasons, well more than a point per game. Those 3 definitely probably are honorable mentions at the time. I would understand including Matthews on your Mount Rushmore. For me, what made it hard was, for a team that won 13 Stanley Cups to put a guy on that Mount Rushmore who's only won 1 playoff series, and I know it's not like it's all Auston Matthews' fault, but he definitely has the potential to become the Maple Leafs GOAT in due time. He is the ripe young age of 26. He'll turn 27 on September 17th, so should still have plenty of hockey left. Tomorrow, stay tuned, I'll be doing the Utah Hockey Club. That's right, there's no more Coyotes. They are now known as the Utah Hockey Club, but of course, naming my Mount Rushmore, naming my GOAT, it'll become from the original Winnipeg Jets, Phoenix Coyotes, and Arizona Coyotes. Anyhow, don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. Like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm out.